Solved after 30 years, a murder buried deep in silence, hidden in the dust of forgotten case files, and remembered only by the family who never stopped asking why. For decades, there were no answers, no arrests, no closure, just a haunting mystery that refused to fade away. But then, 3 decades later, science caught up with the lies of the past. DNA, tiny fragments of truth left behind at the crime scene, finally spoke, and when it did, a killer's secret life crumbled. This is the story of how justice arrived 30 years too late, but not too late to matter. The year was 1989. It was a small town, quiet, the kind of place where everyone knew each other and violent crime seemed impossible. On a cold November night, a young woman named Claire left work late. She was 24, working 2 jobs to support herself, and always called her parents when she got home. But that night, she never did. Hours passed, then days, and soon the town realized something terrible had happened. Her body was found in a wooded area just a few miles outside of town. The scene was brutal. Investigators quickly determined it was homicide. Evidence was collected, fibers, footprints, and a single trace of biological material. But in 1989, DNA testing was still in its infancy. The small sample they had was useless at the time. The case went cold almost as quickly as it began. For years, detectives chased rumors. They interviewed suspects, questioned coworkers, even followed tips from psychics. Nothing held. Every lead collapsed. The family held vigils, hoping new information would emerge. But as the 90s turned into the 2000s, the case gathered dust in the evidence room. Claire's parents grew older, her friends moved away, and the community quietly carried the weight of an unsolved murder. Then, 30 years later, everything changed. A new detective, part of a cold case unit, reopened the file. By now, DNA technology had advanced far beyond anything investigators in 1989 could have imagined. Samples that once seemed too degraded or too small could now be analyzed with precision. The detective requested that the preserved biological evidence be tested again. Weeks later, the results came back, and they shocked everyone. The DNA matched someone who had never even been considered a suspect, a man who lived just a few miles away from Claire at the time of her death. His name was Daniel Hart. He had been a quiet figure in the community, known for working odd jobs and keeping to himself. He had no serious criminal record, just minor offenses. For 30 years, he had lived an ordinary life, blending in, hiding in plain sight. He married, raised children, and appeared like any other neighbor. No one suspected that he carried a dark secret. When investigators confronted him with the DNA evidence, his mask cracked. At first, he denied everything. He claimed he had never met Claire, but DNA doesn't lie. The sample from the crime scene matched him with absolute certainty. Under pressure, the calm facade he had maintained for decades fell apart. Eventually, he confessed, but only partially. He admitted being at the scene, but twisted the story, blaming it on an accident. Prosecutors weren't convinced. With the DNA, the confession, and the original evidence, they built a strong case. During the trial, the courtroom was packed. Claire's family sat in the front row, finally facing the man who had stolen their daughter. For 30 years, they had imagined this moment, and now it was real. The jury deliberated for only a few hours before returning a guilty verdict. After 3 decades of freedom, Daniel Hart was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For the first time in 30 years, Claire's family felt that justice had spoken. It couldn't erase the pain or bring her back, but it closed a wound that had been open for far too long. What makes this case so haunting is how close he lived to the truth for all those years. While Claire's family mourned, he went on with his life, laughing, working, even raising children of his own. He probably believed he had escaped justice forever. But the smallest trace of DNA, the evidence he thought would disappear, waited for him. And when science caught up, it revealed everything. This story reminds us that justice may be delayed, but it is never truly gone. DNA has become one of the most powerful tools in modern investigations. It gives a voice to the silenced, it brings the past into the present, and it proves that no matter how much time passes, the truth has a way of fighting its way to the surface. If you found this case as chilling as I did, make sure you like this video, share it with friends who love true crime, and subscribe to Grim Casebook. Every week, we uncover stories from the shadows, cases that test the limits of time, truth, and justice. Your support keeps these stories alive and reminds the world that justice never forgets.